and welcome to today's Daily News on the 19th of June. I am your host, Scott Young, and I'm delighted to be joined again by Dean from the Rangers Journal. Dean, cheers for coming on again, mate.
Morning, Scott. Thanks very much for having me.
Nah, no worries. Just a disclaimer for everyone watching. This is my first time hosting one of these things, so if I make an arse of it, then don't hold it against me too much. Got quite a big news day coming on. It was going to be pretty quiet, and then last night some big stories broke from normal, reliable sources. And the first one, it's kind of an exclusive here on the Rangers Journal. It's that James Tavernier has agreed terms with Al-Ettifaq. Dean, I know the conversation around James Tavernier is one that splits the fan base down the middle. I don't know what your thoughts are, but What would you say to the fact that James Tavernier could be and looks to be on his way out of Rangers this summer?
Thank you very much for your service and good luck for your move.
Do you think it's harsh, his treatment over the last 4 months, or would you say it's time to go for Tav and also his partner in Ken Goldson next to him?
Definitely time to go. Time for change. Time for other players to play, time for other players to take on responsibility. For far too long, we've just been used to a lot of responsibility taken on Tav and things like that. And I know there's people have been asking for his head for not just this year, but years in general. And I know Maeda came to Celtic 3 years ago, and he's never been able to play against him, and I know for a fact that's rough. That annoys a lot of Rangers fans. So definitely time to go. And I think same with his sidekick there as well. So good move for him. Good move for the club. He's going to make money that he only ever dreamed about, and set him, his family up, his kids up, his kids up, kids up. You know what I mean? So it is a good move for him. His game's starting to slow down. It's a relatively slow-paced league, so he'll still, I think, be able to shine in a league like that. Whereas I think he would, if he got a move elsewhere in Britain, I don't know if he would have the ability to shine as well as he has for Rangers, and he's with these attacking attributes.
You mentioned his attacking attributes, and that's something that Tav defenders always sort of throw back at folk who want him sold. Is that his numbers? He always gets his double figures in goals, double figures for assists. Do you believe in the project that Kopp and Clement are building, that they have the right scouting department in place to replace those high numbers in terms of your goals, your assists? I know a lot of them are penalties, but it's very difficult to find a consistent penalty taker like James Tavernier was before March, because if you think about it, he hasn't scored a lot of penalties since then. So do you trust Coppin and Clement to be able to find the players that can replace Tav and his numbers?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I've used this comparison as an example, and this was before Hadji came out and said, about maybe perhaps leaving, or his agents know what to do, or things like that. I can't remember what it was verbatimly, but basically implying that he's, probably going to be leaving this summer. But I made the comparison before that came out that Hadji is both-footed and can hit corners with both feet, can hit free kicks with both feet. Just using that as an example. And I'm looking for us to sign a centre-forward that's as clinical as what Cholak was, as what Chris Boyd was, which was, and those types of centre-forwards like Jermaine Defoe, players like that who are going to be scoring you more than one every two type thing. We'll sign somebody like that, and that person, I think, is, should be taking your penalties. Ali McCoy's made a comment on that maybe a few years ago, saying that centre forwards, should be taking penalties because they're the people in the team that's going to be, it's their main job is to score goals. So and I'm perfectly comfortable that there will be players in the team that can already take corners and free kicks, and ones that will be added. I'm 100% confident in the scouting network that we have to identify the need for players to have those attributes.
Just last thing on Tav before we move on to our next story. The fee that we haven't been given a fee, and we don't know what the fee is currently. We only know that Tav has agreed terms with Al Ettifaq, which is Steven Gerrard's team in Saudi, for those who don't know. What do you think? What would your fee be for Tav if you were? What's the smallest fee you would take for James Tavernier?
And probably somewhere in the region of 3 million. To be quite honest with you, that's probably quite a lot given his age and the length of his contract. But if we get 3 million for Tav, I think that's really, really good. If we get more, even better. But yeah, probably in the region of 3 million, I would take. What about you?
I'm probably closer to 5 or 6 million for Tav, purely on his numbers and the fact that it'd probably cost a decent bit to replace those numbers. I did say that was my last question, but there is one more, kind of on Tav, but also looking beyond Tav. What about captaincy for next season? Who would, if you're Clement, who are you giving the armband to? I think there's 2 candidates, but I don't know about you.
I personally think that what I want it to be and what I think it's going to be is 2 completely different things. What I want it to be is kind of like when Advocat came in, we had the Advocat Revolution, and Advocat's, when he brought Newman in, he wanted Newman to be the captain. He'd recognised that Rangers needed a new captain, and Newman's like, "Oh, I don't want to be the captain. You should give it to Amoruso," and Amoruso was named captain. So I want it to be a similar scenario to that. I'm not saying that we're going to sign a world-class, the Dutch left back. What I'm saying is that I want there to be a captain recognised that we're bringing in, and perhaps a leader there that's there already for the manager to, have a vision of who he wants to captain the club. And I know that you're saying that there's a couple there, but I think a lot of people are thinking, with like Jack Butland, maybe, or perhaps Sterling, or
yeah, they were my 2 contenders, Butland or Sterling, were the 2 I was thinking of.
Yeah, and I've heard people say Balogun being captain and things like that. Is Balogun really going to play a large percentage of games? You kind of want your captain playing the majority of your games, don't you? And a good deputy coming in, and so. But yeah, I can see the sort of. I can see Sterling and Butland being the ones that a lot of people think of. I'm kind of against goalkeepers being captains, because sometimes it looks like, games gone by, years gone by, that we've missed somebody in the middle of the park being a captain and things like that. So that kind of, for me, I think maybe somebody else. And Sterling, where is he going to play next season? A lot of people are saying that he's not going to play right back. He's going to be playing in the middle of the park. So is Sterling, although he's, the guy would never play a football match anything less than giving 100%. So is he going to be a good candidate for the captain? Is he going to be able to, command that sort of respect from the players, and is he going to have that presence in the team? Is he going to have the ability to tell players to, the proverbial kick up the arse that they need in playing games and things like that? So I think that's maybe the kind of captain Rangers are needing, and I don't know if Sterling has those sort of qualities within him to be that enforcer, if you like.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. It's up to come on anyway to decide on the captain, and it could be the person we move on to our next story. This was an update from Four Lads late last night. It was usual disclaimers applies. Barring any last minute disasters, Connor Barron will be a Rangers player next season. Official announcement isn't expected immediately, but this one is a go. What are your thoughts on Connor Barron? Is he coming in as a Lundstrom replacement to start alongside Diamandi, or is he coming as a Ryan Jack replacement, sort of get minutes off the bench in your cup games, your Europe qualifiers, your sort of easier league games? Where do you see Connor Barron's role next season if, as it says, barring any last minute disasters, he will be a Rangers player next season?
Aye, I see Connor Barron as the direct replacement for Ryan Jack, and I'll tell you why. Given obviously his age, he's still got a lot of years in front of him. His injury record that scares me a bit, and I think giving him the sort of spot of replacing Ryan Jack, getting the minutes, but fighting for the jersey, a very able replacement if there's potential injuries, which is seems to be the status quo at Rangers. So he is a direct replacement for Jack, as far as I'm concerned. However, perfectly comfortable coming in and playing in that six role or whatever role Clement wants to put him in. But he is, by and large, not a squad filler. He's going to be a rotation player as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, yeah, because we need those do you see that as the sort of end of someone like Scott Wright? And we'll get onto that in our next story as well, in terms of the homegrown quota. He's filling up that. Do you see us now being able to move on someone like Scott Wright, who I don't believe is good enough to play for Rangers? Or do you think we need more sort of Scottish boys? Because one criticism is we don't have a lot of players who get Rangers. A lot of players come from abroad or whatever. There's not every successful Rangers team you look at. You had Barry Ferguson, your Kevin Thompsons, you had Lee McCullochs. Before that, you're a core group of Scottish boys. Do you still think we need one or two more of that?
Aye, I mean that goes without saying. We obviously Scott Wright, as I agree. Again, thanks for your service. Good luck in the future type thing for me. And we need to be signing 2 or 3 players from the league that are homegrown, know the league, that are going to come in and be able to play in games and tick the boxes for us that we need, because our squads have been so thin bare. I mean, cast your memory back to the Champions League. We're having to play Leon King and James.
I don't want to cast my mind back to the Champions League. I want that part of my mind
erased. We all do. But having that centre partnership between Leon King and the American, what was his name again?
James Sands.
James Sands, that's I knew it was James Sands. James Sands, like things like that, and getting absolutely embarrassed in Europe, and then I know we done all right last season in Europe. We got Clement came in thankfully, because if Bale was still in charge, we would never have gotten out of the group as far as I'm concerned. And at the point where we only had one left back, and that was Barisic, and not adding some players, but did they not put Kamar Roof in the squad? And then we're I can't remember anyway. But the point I'm making is it was just a really, really shocking European squad, and we want to be having that European squad, the 25 players, and 25 players, every single one of them can come in and play. And not this, but we're leaving 5 spaces for the B team, and to make up the fair enough. It's good for the youngsters to be involved in that, but we really are needing players that are going to be able to step in and play, and perhaps they're not at that level yet for whatever reason. But you can still have 25 players, then have a list of youngsters that are able to play. So as far as I'm aware, the two can coexist. So we need to be looking at players that do play in our league, or that maybe not in Scotland anymore, but have trained in Scotland at one point in their career, and they can come in, and we can, and they're good players, and they can come in and play. That's what we need to do, and that goes a long way with we'll maybe not do well in Europe, or whatever, but we've still got a strong enough squad to be able to still sustain a challenge in the league and in the cups.
Who do you look at from across Europe? Is it a Lennon Miller? Is it a Danny Armstrong? Or do you have a look at... Is it Luke McCowan, the boy's name, for Dundee? Who looks a good player, aye? Is it any of them, or do you have anyone else in mind?
No, Armstrong for me, I think, would be a direct replacement for Scott Wright. And I think what you'd see if Danny Armstrong came in, you would see Danny Armstrong getting more minutes than Scott Wright as well, because he's better. His stats prove that he's better. He's, and very, very reliable player, very good player. Always, looks dangerous every time he's ever played us. You think if something's going to happen, it's going to come for him, don't you, when he plays against us? So, that's who I would be signing. And it seems that the other sort of player that I would have signed doesn't seem to be coming to fruition, and Lauren Shanklin. So there'd be somebody else, I guess, I would be looking to get in. But the question is who. There would be somebody else, but there is a lot of players out there that are, decent. Like the boy McGowan at Dundee's, and again, whenever he's played against us, he's a standout, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm always wary of signing players who only look good against us. Michael O'Halloran, I've been scarred by him because he scored the brace for St Johnstone and we signed him and he was hopeless. Yeah, I'm more worried about signing players but no, I agree. I think Lennon Miller, I like to look at him. Definitely like to look at him as well. But moving on, sort of stick with a homegrown thing. This was reported a few weeks ago, but looks to be, this is from Four Lads last night again. Just small details to be ironed out, not done yet. But Liam Kelly would return to challenge Jack Butland and replace Robbie McCrory, who was expected to leave in search of first-team football. Kelly qualifies for homegrown status for Europe. So that's sort of sticking with our previous story of homegrown. But I can ask you about Robbie McCrory first. What do you think about him leaving? Do you think he sort of thanks for your service, but you deserve first-team football, or would you rather him stay as a second-choice keeper and not sign Liam Kelly?
The latter option, and that's just out of pure selfishness. However, out of empathy for the player, I want him to move on for his own career, his own self. 26 years old. What goalkeeper in the world wants to be 26 years old, sitting on a bench again, not getting any games? He's got to be playing every week. He's got aspirations to be Scotland's number one. I fully believe he has the ability to be Scotland's number one, but only way he's going to prove that ability is by playing week in, week out. And I think I don't think the £500,000 price tag that's put upon him is unfair. I think it's actually pretty fair. But the question is how many teams in Scotland are going to be able to pay that for him? So. And that's, well, I'm saying if that's the stays in Scotland, hopefully, it's maybe down in England if that's the case, but definitely needs to move on. I would have moved him on 2-3 seasons ago. But we kept Alan McGregor probably, could have retired after 55. And coming into 55, that's when that was the season that McCrory sort of got his wee chance, and Alisker and against them and stuff, and he was brilliant, never put a foot wrong. Yeah. And then
that was when half the team was out with COVID, wasn't it?
Mental, man, mental. Aye. So Robbie McCrory's definitely got the ability to play week in, week out for anybody. And if we're keeping Jack Butland, which hopefully that's the case, then McCrory does need to move on for his own career. As I said, you want to be playing week in, week out when you're a keeper that age, and he wants to play for Scotland. So I want him to go and play and live and fight for his dream.
Yeah, I also think that Scott, after Angus Gunn's performances in the Euros so far, I think that Scotland number one jersey is probably up for grabs. So he probably is looking at that and thinking, if I'm playing week in, week out, for example, I think Aberdeen's the best link so far I've seen. If he's playing week in, week out for a... Sorry. If he's playing week in, week out for a decent Aberdeen team, then he could very easily be Scotland's number one. But moving on to a player who looks to be coming into Rangers and Liam Kelly, where do you see his role fitting in? Do you see... Obviously, he will be back up this season, but the question mark still hangs over Jack Butland and his future. What would you say about Liam Kelly being our number one next season if Jack Butland is to leave, or would you rather, if Butland leaves, we sign a first choice goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the case. Liam Kelly has pretty much been... He's been looked at and he's been identified as a direct replacement for Robbie McCrory. And I think, given the sort of the context and the four lads tweet, ironing out things and things like that, I think there is going to be something in his contract where he is, wanting to play, cup games, things like that, at least play a percentage of games, and if Butland ever gets suspended, he wants, and injured, I think there's going to be something like that, because he's coming from the total opposite end of the spectrum. He's coming from playing week in, week out at Motherwell, to then come and sit on the bench. And I know he'll be earning more money and things like that, but he's still at an age where, wants to be playing. It's not as if he's between 35 and 40 and he's, at the twilight years of his career. He's still in his prime years as a goalkeeper, Will. So I would suggest that he's, maybe getting some assurances in his contract that he will play, some games and things like that, because I just find it awfully strange that somebody would come from playing week in, week out to then coming in and being a number two and not playing or seldom playing. But as I said, he's obviously getting more money and he needs to think about him and his family and things like that. So I understand it from both points of view in a way, but good for us because we're getting rid of Robbie McCrory, who's taken away the club-trained homegrown box, and Stephen Kelly's coming in and ticking that box for us.
Yeah, I think it's one you look at. It's best for all parties. I think the small details I ended up reading about this last night. He's still technically under contract at Motherwell.
Aye,
because he signed a small extension at Motherwell, so Motherwell could get money for him in the Euros. So I don't know if that's got something to do with the small details or not. So that also shows he's a decent character as well, which if he's willing to do that, then it's good for us and it's good to get someone who's like that in. Moving on to our finals, this is an interesting one. Several sources are claiming Rangers are looking for up to £5 million for Tom Lawrence. Several EFL Championship clubs and Ipswich Town are interested in the Welshman. What are your thoughts on Tom Lawrence? Because he seems to be another one along with Tav that sort of splits the fan base. Are you a Tom Lawrence fan? Or are you willing to see him go on, move on?
It's 50-50 for me. I think when Tom Lawrence signed and before he got that horrific injury, I was like, I'm delighted we've signed him. What a player. Got injured and then he's had injury problems here and there and in and out the team here and there. Some teams he just looked really, really unfit. He couldn't handle the pace of the game. Maybe perhaps playing in a deeper role as to what he was used to do. I don't know. Loads of mitigating factors into his performances, in my opinion, but he is a player who has abilities. Only one of the few players in our team that wants to get the ball and have a dig, which I miss so much, having that type of player in our team. But I don't think he's been able to make a lasting impression enough to be a first team member. And I think is it a year or two he's got left in his contract? Is it just a year?
I think based on Ross Wilson's contract, he's probably got 4 years left. But I actually think it is closer to. I think it is 2. I'll have a look.
Because I was going to say if it's a year to go, and we're apparently it's 5 million. I just think that's a very high amount. To be fair, I think it's quite a high amount, even if he's got 2 years left on his contract, because he's not exactly came off of the back of playing a 40-game season and scoring 10 goals and 10 assists.
He's got a year.
A year left. I kind of just says to me that I don't think it's 5 million. I remember we're used to a certain club overvaluing their players in the press and stuff, aren't we? So to what they actually go for. So I think it's maybe just a case of that. Maybe his agent trying to get a move or things like that. I mean, I would be happy with half of that. I think, because as I said, he's not exactly come off a season where he's been, contender for player of the season. He's not had a particularly good season, in and out the team, injuries, things like that. So, 5 million just seems like an awful lot of money for him.
There was a kind of a wider conversation around Tom Lawrence and sort of players in his position. If you look at our number 10s that we employ, you've got Cantwell, Lawrence, Hadji, and Lammers. And all 4 of them have been linked with moves away. They've all been, or the 4 of them have all been linked with moves away. So I don't smoke without fire and whatever. But if you're looking at it, just the 4 of them wanting to leave, that's probably our first 4 choice number 10s that have been linked with moves away. Do you see us changing from a 4-2-3-1 to a flat 4-3-3 and getting rid of number 10s next season? Or do you see us bringing in 2 or 3 creative midfielders? What do you see our number 10 role looking like next season if the rumours are be true and the 4 of them are away?
That's a very, very good question. Very good question. It wouldn't actually surprise me if we were to go 4-3-3, because getting in 2-3 number 10s, it's going to cost a pretty penny. For ones that you're going to have to come in and they're going to have to be delivering numbers, and they didn't come cheaply. And even if we're if they're coming from markets that are untapped and things like that, it's still going to cost money. And that's bringing in 2-3 players for 2-3 foreign leagues, 2-3 players to come in and adapt to the Scottish life, and as just a bit of a gamble for me. But I mean, if that happens, then I've got full belief in Coppin and Clermont to bring the right lads in. But I think it might just be a sign of us maybe wanting to change to a flat 3 and making us a bit more robust in the middle of the park as well, which we kind of have. Apart from the last Old Firm game, other than that, we've looked second best to their midfield in the games, and that may be their way of identifying it to how we go forward. I mean, sometimes I think as well, because we play a number 10 and most teams park the bus, number 10s sometimes don't actually have that much of an influence because of the way that teams are set up, and it's actually quite hard for a number 10 to play that pass or have that shot or whatever, because there's just so many bodies in front of them, whereas might be of more benefit having the 3 in midfield, or I don't know, but I'm no tactician, but yeah, I think it could be a sign of change. What do you think?
That's all. I think there's 2 ways. I think I'd rather a 4-3-3 if the midfield 3 is Sterling, Diamande, either Raskin or Barron, or we get someone else in. One of the, I think Diamande and Sterling should be 2, and if it is a flat 3, the 3rd. I would think I'd rather Barron than Raskin, but I think, or we get someone else in, like the boy Garcia. He's still not signed a new deal, so I think there must be something in that, because this time last week all the rumours were he's not got Rangers, he's signing a new deal with the club he's at, but that's not been official yet. So I still think there's something in that he could still be a Rangers player at some point. So I think I'd rather a 3. I'd be a no. I don't want personally, I don't want Cantwell to leave. I still think there's a player in Todd Cantwell. But if Clement wants to sell him, then I back Clement, if I'm being honest here.
Aye.
So yeah, I think either way, I'm pretty happy. I would keep Cantwell, but if we are to sell Cantwell, I think we get decent money for him. And that can be invested in a winger, a centre half, another position that we need more than a number 10 if we're going with 4-3-3 next season. But that's us all for today. Cheers, Dean, for coming on again, mate.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to guest on the Gallant Few, and anybody that's watching who haven't already done so, give the Rangers Journal on YouTube a wee watch. We have content out every night, so please like, share and subscribe, watch and tell all your friends and family.
Yeah, just to echo what you said, they put out a great interview with a Moroccan journalist about Igamani, who we all look to be signing. If you want a breakdown on him, I'd highly recommend giving that a watch. And yeah, cheers for watching this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.